Okay, go.
Okay, and as I said, welcome everybody, and thank you for coming to today's Wednesday Wake Up webinar. Who loves a bit of alliteration, eh? Helen, who set this up, obviously does love a bit of alliteration. We are three experts, for want of a better word, who form Connect, because we firmly believe that mind and body are connected, and that by using both mind and body, we can benefit ourselves. So I'm not going to talk too much about who we are, because we three are going to talk separately. But over the next few weeks, we're going to talk and give you hints and tips and strategies to cope with a series of issues that have affected us over the COVID period and going forward, because it looks like this will be the new normal. So Helen's going to talk about motivation and to overcome lethargy. Nick's going to talk about mindset and use some martial arts tactics to help you with that, I think. And I'm going to talk about exercise being medicine, as I always do. But first things first, over to Nick.
Yeah, thanks, David. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and then I'm going to be asking you to do one thing that's quite straightforward, but actually you might have a little bit of difficulty with, but it's quite profound. And I just want to talk a little bit about why we're going to be doing this. So the ultimate aim of karate, and I think probably quite a lot of the traditional martial arts, is humility. And the more I've explored this whole concept of humility, it's quite interesting. If you think of Tiananmen Square in 1989, over 30 years ago, I don't know, you might remember there was a whole line of tanks. They were in single file, and that line of tanks it's part of like the might of the Chinese army, and it was stopped, and it was stopped by a guy with 2 bags of shopping. Now, when I've mentioned this before, particularly to women, they do think that does explain how powerful good shopping can be. But I think as well, I think it also displays this, really demonstrates this concept of humility, of someone who has just taken themselves kind of out of the picture. And other people that we think about are people like Nelson Mandela. You know, he was incarcerated for a long time. He didn't seem to have any resentment, any anger, any sort of scores to settle. And it's one of the things we're aiming to achieve with the martial arts. And one of the interesting things about humility is that it gives us a balance on where we should be with our ego. Because if you come across someone who's very egotistical, then they're often very driven. They sacrifice their values if they know what they are. But there's also a problem if you've got absolutely no ego. And that's where we can get things like lethargy, lack of motivation, lack of desire, and this sort of what psychologists call a feeling of learned helplessness. So the more I've been investigating humility, and I did a lot when I qualified as a stress management consultant, it's a very fascinating topic. And C.S. Lewis put it best for me. The danger is, if you Google this, it's a word that's been taken over by people who have like religious motivations. And this isn't about whether religion is good or bad. This is saying that actually I think that the definition of humility that would serve as best is C.S. Lewis, who said that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So what I ultimately want to talk to you about is self-esteem, because if our self-esteem is too low, then we won't have motivation, we won't have energy to change perhaps bad habits that we've got into over the last few months. And one of the things as well about this thing about self-esteem is a lot of people, you know, we all have goals, we all have things that we want to achieve. We want to have a feeling that we're progressing, whatever the situation is, whatever's going on outside our front doors and everything. But one of the things that we need to keep intact is that we need to feel worthy of success. It's very easy, as you know, as we get bombarded with negative news on a daily basis, and we had Brexit, you know, not that long ago. I am going to mention the B word. I've just done it. But there was definite phase where people who wanted Brexit were very unhappy with how things were progressing, and people who didn't want Brexit were very unhappy with how things were progressing. So we've had loads of bad news over the last couple of years. Now we've got COVID, and we have to keep ourselves intact. We have to keep our self-esteem in this sort of nice range where actually, you know, I'm not down here, so I'm not demotivated, but I'm not up here and I'm living in cloud cuckoo land. I'm perhaps going to be a bit aggressive with people because there's things I really want to achieve. The black belts that I know, generally very happy, they're quite grounded. They work hard, you know, when they work hard, but they've got a nice sort of balance of self-esteem. So your task, and we're going to start this today, if you've got a pen and paper handy, that would be really useful. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to list, this sounds deceptively simple, okay? I'm going to ask you to make a list of your achievements. Because this isn't about the black belts that I know, and I've known loads over my 30 odd years in the martial arts. The black belts I know, they never particularly want to be the best. They're not really bothered about beating other people. It's just that they have a feeling within themselves that, you know what, I'm okay. And when I'm okay, I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of making the changes that actually I know I need to do because things have dipped a bit in the last few months. So I started doing this. I've been doing stress management for quite a while, and I'm going to share with you. So my first 5 were I can read. Right, we're starting off with basic stuff, folks, and then you can take this wherever you want. I can read, I can write, I can ride a bike, I can swim, I can play the piano. And then it got a bit random because my 6th one, we could sit here all day and you wouldn't guess my 6th one. My 6th achievement is I reckon I'm good with a compass. So if you go walking with me in the hills, there is a chance that we'll get lost. I do need to tell you that. But there's actually a good chance through years of experience and what I've achieved that actually we'll be able to get back to safety. But when I started then, and I couldn't do this in one go, but then there's things like, you know, I was in the Scouts, I got the Chief Scouts Award and all that then. And it wasn't until actually I wrote down this list here. And it wasn't until I got to the top of the next column that I thought, oh yeah, I've written a book. I mean, this is a shameless plug for the book, but it's like, why wasn't that in my top 10, you know? And the problem with this is it can be very difficult to actually think, you know, what have I achieved? So what I'd like you to do, just a little bit of interaction as I wrap up, because this is your homework, okay? Trust me, it will be really worthwhile. You can have it up, you know, on your desk, and you can have it up here and you can look at it. And it is this thing about, I'm not brilliant, I'm not the best, I'm not God's gift to the planet, but you know what? I'm okay. So what I'd like you to do in the next few seconds is, if you've got an achievement that you think is a little bit random, I've shared with you my first random one, I've got others, but what I'd like to do is type it in the chat. If you've got an achievement, and David and Helen, you can play this as well. So if you've got an achievement that's a little bit off the wall, a little bit different, please feel free to type it in the chat. Don't be shy, although this has been recorded and may go viral, but you never know. All right. So, but the serious point about this is about keeping our self-esteem in check. You know, we're not competing with anyone else or anything else. We're not trying to be the best mother, father, whatever, but we're just saying, you know what, I'm okay. So we've got something in here. What have we got? David, I've represented my country for American football. You learn something about someone every day, don't you? Okay. Well, look, folks, that's 8 minutes. That's my time is up. But what I urge you to do is, I've had like 4 goes at this, and it's only then, my last but one is I was made a fellow of the Institute of Sales and Marketing Management. And that only cropped up this morning. So please make a list of your achievements, and you can also do this with your kids. This is a great one for your kids, because you'll say, what have you achieved? And they'll go, nothing. It's like, can you read? Can you write? Can you swim? Can you ride a bike? Have you ever passed an exam, been given an award? Can you play a musical instrument? Have you been picked for a team? This is a great one for kids as well. So I'll love you and leave you. And I'm going to pass over to Helen, who is going to talk about motivation.
Cool. Thank you very much, Nick. Okay, so thank you, Nick. That was really good. I really like that. What I want to talk, I'm going to give you three things today, three things. Motivation is that thing that helps us to get things done. When we are at home continuously in the same environment as we were talking about before, it can be quite, oh God, I've got to get that done. And that's partly because we're not getting the stimulation that we were getting before when we were in the workplace, quite often in the office with other people around. Sometimes we're not even actually talking to them, but being in that atmosphere helps. So first of all, first thing, break your tasks down to small chunks. These are very practical things. Break everything down into small chunks. So I'm going to do all time, small chunks of time. So I'm going to work for the next hour and get all these emails done, all this done for next week, blah, 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 and then have a little break. It may be that you nip downstairs, or you nip to somewhere else where you go and have a cup of coffee, you go and sit outside, you go nip to the shop, something like that, so you have that little break. So break everything down to small chunks, either small chunks as in tasks or in time, but make sure you have more frequent breaks. If you can go out for a coffee with somebody, you know, it could be that you go out for coffee for somebody, but this leads me on to the next one. The next one is to give yourself the right carrot. By that, I mean the right motivation to get something done, to do something. It may be that you say to yourself, right, I am going, or you arrange with a friend, because once it's arranged with somebody else, you cannot, it's more unchangeable. You arrange with a friend to go meet them, say Friday at 1 o'clock for a coffee in the afternoon. But you know, to be able to do that, you've got to get Friday's work done in the morning before that time. You can't leave until you've done it. That in itself acts as a good carrot to get you motivated to do something else, to get all the stuff done. And you'd be surprised how quickly you can get all that stuff that would have took you all day done in a shorter space of time if you give yourself the right carrot, the right reward for getting that done. Okay, those are very quick tips. The other thing that I want to do with you is to help you set your internal sat nav, or in technical terms, your reticular activating system, your RAS. That helps with motivation massively. It does, it helps to program, because what you're actually doing is telling that part of your brain that we are looking out for this thing. This is what we're looking for. So I want you to spend a few seconds now just closing your eyes. And I want you to think about something that you want to achieve, whether it's a small thing like the end of the day, you want to get your desk cleared or something, or you want to achieve something bigger. It doesn't matter. I want you to think about something that you'd really like to achieve. Now that you can picture it, you might not be able to actually physically see it in your mind. You might do, you might not. You might just have a feel of it. You might just sense that there's something there, or you might just know what it is. I want you to kind of make that a bit bigger. If it's a picture, make the picture a bit brighter and a bit bigger. Make the feeling stronger. I want you to kind of almost take yourself forward in time to that moment when you have achieved that task, that goal, whatever it is, and really step into that moment so that you really get a good feeling, a good sense of what it's going to feel like, how amazing you are going to feel, that sense of satisfaction when you've achieved it, when you are there. And by doing that, really get that sense, that feeling of what it is. Maybe, you know, your desk will be nice and clear. How free that actually makes you feel because you're uncluttered. How great that makes you feel. Maybe at the end of the day, you can then relax even more because you know you've got everything done from the day. Maybe you've achieved something bigger. What's going to be the positive outcome of achieving that goal, whatever it is? Just allow yourself to really feel that. And now what I want you to do, and this is one of the really important parts of doing this, I want you now to understand what it is that you need to do next to be able to get to that point. And then bring it back with you now so that you know what it is that you need to do. As soon as we've finished this webinar today, as soon as you had your lunch, as soon as you finish this, you know what it is that you have to do next to get to that future you that's achieved that goal and feel all that satisfaction and that pleasure. And when you've done that, you can open your eyes. Well done. Well done. Cool. Did you all get a sense or a feeling of achieving that goal, whatever it is? No, Mark?
Yes, I'm nodding away.
Yeah, okay, cool. That is a very, very useful tool to help you, to help motivate you, because what you've actually done is programmed your internal sat nav to that point. So what happens now is that part of your brain will actually look out for those activities, those things that will help you to get to that point. If you find it difficult to see or to feel, try writing it down first and taking a little longer to do that activity. Normally I would take probably about 5 or 10 minutes to do that with somebody, maybe even slightly longer. So it's been a very, very quick go with it today. So, but I hope you find that useful. I will now pass you over to David, who I'm sure is actually going to get you out of your seats. I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe. But it's interesting you're talking about motivation there, Helen, because yeah, the biggest thing I find sometimes I don't want to come in here, I don't want to exercise, don't want to do anything. But by actual getting myself into and doing, then that creates the energy itself. But so by doing, it creates the energy and overcomes the lethargy and fatigue that possibly was just self-induced. So that's exactly what I was going to talk about. Was it might seem counterintuitive, but actually moving and being physically active will give you more energy. It won't make, if it's low level stuff like walking, which is brilliant, or just maybe just doing some little light exercise, then that will give you more energy and will overcome those feelings of lethargy. So, and science will back that up. Going out in nature, if you can get outside, if you're lucky enough to be able to walk outside, that will reset your brain and give you a massive, massive boost mood-wise, especially if there's green stuff around, forests and grass and things, because our brains react to green and nature. So if you're lucky enough to do that, great. If you can't get outside or it's a horrible day and it's chucking it down rain, get yourself to a window and move by a window so you've got natural light coming in, and hopefully maybe you can just see the lawn, because that will have an impact on your brain. But failing that, science has also proven that walking up and down stairs for a few minutes has the same energizing effect on your brain as a shot of an espresso. That's pretty cool stuff. That's pretty powerful. I love that fact, and I trot it out all the time, because Nick and Helen often wonder why I'm so buzzy, because I guess it's because I'm moving all the time. And I get told off. But I'm going to give you a little flow now, a little flow of exercise. This is something I use with myself, with clients. I give them as homework to do. And it's something I use if I've been sitting for any length of time, just to give me a bit of a zap, a bit of a boost. So you can join in if you want. If not, not a problem. But if you are going to join in, you need to stand up. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with, is what we call the cross crawl. Oh, Nick and Helen joining in. You can see I'm constantly, everybody else has disappeared off the bottom of the screen. But it's a cross crawl. So we take elbow and we go across to opposite knee, if we can, or close to, and we just, if you can, get across, get as close to it as possible. just maybe do 10, maybe 20 of these.
Oh God.
What we're doing here, we're working the muscles around the hips, across your back, arms are working, so blood's getting flowing to our brain. Right, once you've done those, we're going to do what we call a reach up. So we're just going to reach up as high as possible, nice up onto your toes, try and make yourself as tall as possible. And now we're working our ankles, our shoulders, and again, just stretching everything out, getting our muscles working. Maybe do 10 of these, 5, 10 of these. And when we've done some of those, all we're going to do is just swing gently, side to side, from our hips. So our feet are planted, right shoulder width. Little cross crawl, little flow. So that's all from me. That's all I wanted to give you. But thank you so much for being here. Next week, hopefully all three of us will manage to stay on the call. We're going to be talking about how to combat stress and using different tactics to combat stress. So maybe looking out for those emails, social media links. I don't know how you guys found us this week, but I know it's a mixture of social media and email. But if you've got any questions, Jane, Sandra, Mark, anybody got any questions, gladly take them now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I did write those exercises down. I will, when I'm a little bit further away from the wall, I will try those out. So
cool. Excellent, Mark. They're nice and simple to
have an
do.
issue with flattening dining chairs by sitting on them for too many hours a day, so I could do with moving around.
Excellent.
Cool.
Okay. Helen, you came back into the call.
Yeah, my internet's been very dodgy for the last couple of weeks, and it just suddenly went out. Yeah.
That's right. You're back. You're back. Excellent. Any questions? Any other questions? No.
Cool.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you guys again for being here, and hopefully see you next week. Well, as I say, we'll be talking about stress, and then going forward every Wednesday lunchtime through into December, we'll be talking and giving you hints and tips to combat other issues to do with this situation that we find ourselves in. All right. Have
Brilliant.
a great week.
Thanks, guys.
Stay
Yeah,
energized.
thank you. Will do. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Whew.
And then there was 3.
Hang on.